Behold, it's Natalia. Let's go find some monkeys, shall we?
Would you say sex is like riding a bicycle?
Nothing gets me going like Christmas and wigs. Let's check out this show.
I remember the first creature I beheld. He was a squirrel. His name was Kevin.
I heard you need a DNA sample.
I want to find light and joy in things that bring us together and unite us. And I think science is something that can unite us. Ow. God damn.
There's a world out there, a world that needs to be beheld.
Welcome. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, welcome. Two Cougars. So, hi folks. Welcome to Two Cougars, where you get not one, but two ladies of a certain age talking urban wildlife, conservation, and one pop culture story from a Gen X point of view.
This is so great. I am so happy to be here, Natalia. We've been talking about doing something like this for a while. I'm Beth Pratt. I am a wildlife advocate and have been since I was a little girl, and help save frogs and put them in buckets.
Good old bucket frog Beth.
Yep. Early days of being a cougar. Early days of not being a cougar, but one of the reasons I would put frogs in buckets is so that they could get safely to help find mates. So always
wow.
love, even as a girl.
What you did for love. What you did for love, Beth. Well, I'm a biological anthropologist and comedian. My name's Natalia Reagan, and we're excited because each week we're going to discuss conservation news stories, basically like have occasional guests coming on because we have fabulous friends that work in the field, but also that are in entertainment that also love wildlife. And yeah, we're going to have like a pop culture story of the week that we're going to give our Gen X doesn't give an F about that particular story, because that's what Gen X does, is not give an F. Yeah. And this week we're going to talk about Atlanta Falcons, and we're going to meet Boston's new Peregrine Falcons.
Boston, my hometown, has
yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen Falcons in Boston?
I have not. That's why I was when we were talking about what to talk about on the show, and I saw that pop up, I'm like, yay. I have not. But when I was growing up and going to school, wildlife had kind of been banished from the city. They all went to live in the suburbs, but they're back. So that's what I love.
They're like, screw this place. Come on, Ma. We're going out to the burbs. The birds, the burbs of the burbs. I love a good burb. Well, we also are going to talk about the new cougar we have in Griffith Park. And no, it's not a real housewife yet. The night is young. Who knows?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
then I think we snuck in some appropriately to the show. I think we started off with all the references that had sort of a double entendre, right? So we're going to talk about beaver reintroduction as well. Two cougars talking beaver reintroduction. Hey,
two cougars, one beaver.
Land on a porn channel. Cool wildlife stuff.
Yeah, this would be a missed opportunity. Pornhub, look us up.
Yes.
We're here to talk about beavers. Save a tree, eat a beaver, as I'd like to say. Leave it to beaver. And but we're talking about real life, the largest rodent you have in North America being reintroduced to the Golden State. Fantastic. I think it's a damn good story, Beth.
I think it's a damn good story too. Boy. That was a low-hanging fruit. We're going to have to do better than that.
One of my favorite running shirts is a little beaver on it just saying, damn. It'll never get old. Never. And our perfectly animal-themed pop culture story of the week is about hot rodent men.
Apparently that is a thing. I did Google it after you proposed it, and I thought you had actually made it up. No, apparently it is a thing.
It is something I would make up. And I did some deeper digging, and there are other men that fall into. I mean, I always knew about bears in the gay culture, and I love a good bear or an otter. Have you ever heard of an otter?
I haven't heard of otters. No,
it's another term in the gay men community of skinny, hairy men. So it's like it's bear light is an otter, really.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, then we had the whole quiz going around, man or bear, and of course we all chose bear. I mean, it wasn't even a contest. Sorry, men out there, but
sorry.
Sorry.
And I didn't even have time to kind of address this, but last night I got a citizen alert. I live in Burbank, California, beautiful Burbank, and I got a citizen's alert about a bear on the loose in Chatsworth, just down the road. So I hope
Oh,
it's okay because they were saying it was being aggressive. I have a feeling that just means walking down the street.
right. Yeah.
You know,
Usually animals just in people places is aggressive, which of course we know it isn't.
yeah.
They,
Gosh
yeah,
darn it, this shark is so aggressive. It's like
yeah,
you're in its environment, sir. The shark's just doing what
exactly.
sharks do. But yeah, we have a lot of urban wildlife here in Los
We have
Angeles, and
some
we're
fun
gonna
stuff. And,
yeah,
Natalia, you put together this awesome outline for us. But I thought we should start out with why we're doing this, because you and I connected years ago and just hit it off. We had fun, just being our usual goofy selves, but talking wildlife. We took P22, the cutout, and we'll get to who P22 is in a moment. He was a famous mountain lion running around New York City with a mountain lion cutout, running through LA, talking cougars. But you and I are both wildlife folks and want more people to love wildlife and are tired of like the sort of, we're both scientists, yet we want communication to be more fun about wildlife. So we're like, let's do something. And I think you came up with the idea of Two Cougars because technically we're also two cougars.
we sure are, Beth.
Yeah, we sure are. It's
We own it. We definitely own it. Yeah, and I feel like
I'm over, I'm 55, so but the young man thing hasn't happened. So let's work on that.
again, the night is young. I feel like
Night is
anybody
young, yeah.
watching want to send Beth a little slip into her DMs respectfully, of course.
I think it's the new thing. I just watched two, what was the one with Anne Hathaway about yeah, and then I
Idea
just
of
watched
you.
one, yeah, and then I just watched one last night with Nicole Kidman and what's the actor's name? He was hilarious.
Oh,
Zac
Efron.
He was
Yeah.
hilarious in it. But this like older woman, younger man thing seems to be in vogue. So cougars, we are on where pop culture is working for us these days.
We're hot. We're hot. My mom is 9 years.
I'm available.
Yes, let's put that out there. You can, people of the earth. Beth Pratt is an eager beaver, if you will, to meet a nice puma, a cub. Really, actually, cub is more like it. Or
I
kitten.
think the definition of cougar is they'd have to be. I don't know. That is like you have to be over 40, but how old does the guy have to be? 20s?
I don't know. I mean, I have dated when I was 40. I dated someone who was 24. And that was not by design. That was purely out of, he walked right up to me and it was just, being as ballsy as one could be. And then, I dated someone when I was 38 who was 22. And that was, again, I generally like dating my own age, but my mom is 9 years older than my dad. And granted, they're not married anymore, but it did result in 2 offspring. So I think that like there was a success story there. And my grandmother was 10 years older than her husband. So I joke that I've got cougar blood coursing through my veins. It's in there.
I dated when I was in my 40s, a 28-year-old great guy. We're still friends actually, but yeah, I think that's cougar. But like,
yeah,
if I date somebody now in their 30s or 40s, is that still cougar or does it have to be 20s? I think this is a research question we're going to have to get at.
We're going to have to get to it. Anybody out there, please write in. We'll
write in. You want to know? Yeah. What do you
find
think?
Some funding. I don't know how
young do I have to go to fulfill my cougar potential? We want to know that.
I think every decade you go up, I think then the decade of, you know what I mean? Like
it's like a proportion.
Works. Yeah.
Like okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And as somebody who, so I studied spider monkeys and worked in primate conservation. This was a no-brainer. When I met Beth, I was just blown away by her passion for P22. And when we ran around New York City, it was very clear we're two people with the same warped, silly, wacky brain. And I don't even think I was not quite 40 yet. I was 30. I was 38 when I moved to New York because I'm a masochist. And I figured let's do the one thing that will drive me batty. But we had such a good time. And then recreating, Beth, every year you recreate the hike pretty much that P22 made to get from the Santa Monica Mountains to Griffith, and joining you on that was always phenomenal. So much fun.
And And I feel like, again, so Natalia is the organized planner in this in this partnership, and she has an outline, but I kind of feel like we need to skip to the new cougar, old cougar, new, long live the king. Like, we're, of course, P22 is, and he's on the shirt I'm wearing, is going to come up a lot. So let's just start out. Who is P22? He was the Brad Pitt of cougars, as I deemed him. He lived in Griffith Park for 10 years. He had to make an extraordinary journey to get there, crossing the 101 and the 405, which neither of us even like driving on, never mind crossing. But he lived in LA's Griffith Park. And for those of you who don't know LA, that is in the middle of the city. That is not on the outskirts. The observatory's there. I mean, Brad Pitt is a neighbor. 10 million people visit that park. And he became sort of this poster cat for urban, what it means to live in an urban environment for wildlife, especially large cats. And he inspired, because of his plight, kind of being trapped on this urban island, the Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing, which is what I've just worked for 13 years. It's under construction. You can even go to a live webcam at 101wildlifecrossing.org and see it. But he also showed people that they could live with live with real cougars. Female cougars like us might be a little harder to live with, but you could live with real cougars in LA. But he passed away, sadly, in 2022. But as we know, drum roll, you can announce it. What happened? Incredulously, like it was 1 in a million that he even made it to Griffith Park. And what happened?
We've got another one, folks. We got another cougar. And it's actually kind of funny because it was about, I think it was May 16th. My old boyfriend had to drop something off at my house. I live maybe not even half a mile from Griffith Park, or the base of Griffith Park. And I got a text from him the next day saying, after I dropped off your stuff, I was driving up, and he was dropping off some Uber passengers at the Ava Apartments just up the road. And he said, I was about to get out and take a leak, but I saw the biggest mountain lion I have ever seen. And I decided against it. And I called him immediately because he didn't realize the implications of seeing a cougar at the base of Griffith, because this is not normal. This is something that is an anomaly, and it means that this cougar made a perilous trek. So I called him. I said, Joe, are you messing with me? He said, no, this was a mountain lion. I swear to God, it wasn't a lynx. It wasn't a bobcat. It wasn't a house cat. And so I immediately texted Beth and Miguel and said, hey, just so you know, this is a text I received. I confirmed it. And, Beth reached back out to me and said, we know. There have been more reports, and we're about to announce it. So it's a huge development. And, I would love to know. I mean, I don't know if you can, or if you do know, or if you can say much about what the National Park Service might be doing moving forward.
A little more, but not much. I mean, it's really fascinating to me. The National Park Service has been doing research on these urban cats. P22 is not a one-off. He was the furthest urban and kind of trapped with all these freeways. But you have mountain lions all throughout the Santa Monica Mountains, which run from, for those again who aren't in LA, from literally the terminus of the Santa Monica Mountains is in Griffith Park, and they roughly run all the way to the coast, roughly the length of the 101, like at least to like Ventura. And the what was really fascinating in a bad way is that most of the mountain lions in the Santa Monica Mountains, the males don't make it past age 2, right? They're trapped with these freeways. They usually get hit by cars or other Beth, but no cat had made it to Griffith Park before, at least in decades that they knew of. Most of them got killed on the 405 or the 101. So P22 is sort of this outlier. And I mean, it's just an insane journey, and nobody thought that he could have made it. And as you said, I retrace his route every year. You've joined me on foot. I don't know how I don't, get killed, never mind a cat. But so to have a second cat show up, this is pretty remarkable. And it shows that, again, this is what these animals have to do to survive. What do we know? Jeff Sikich, the lead biologist, great guy. He's a good friend, but he is trying to capture him so they can get a collar on him and do some DNA testing and a workup, and then we'll know more. It is a male, and it looks youngish from the photos, which we know is pretty typical. It's the young cougars who are on the prowl, I guess, male or female. No, the males are the ones who really wander. Yeah. And the likely guess is he's from, just came east from the western Santa Monica Mountains. But as we know, these cats travel large distances. There was a mountain lion that walked from the Rockies to Connecticut, right? So
What?
this, yeah, this cat could be from anywhere. So I know. Hey, cougars, cougars.
I've done that trip before. Like I've
Yeah.
driven that. That's insane.
Yeah, he didn't even couldn't even get on Amtrak, right? But
Right? No hitchhiking there.
no hitchhiking. Yeah, not going to pick up a real cougar. We certainly don't. We don't recommend that. But anyway, once we get some DNA sampling on him and see if we can find out where he's from, that's gonna tell us a lot. But right now he's kind of this mystery cat. We'll see if he lives. P22, some big cougar paws to fill, but we'll see.
P22 was handsome. I mean, you weren't wrong when you said he was the Brad Pitt of cats.
He really was, handsome, aged well, beloved by all. And part of the reason he was so handsome is he lived alone. And most mountain lions, all mountain lions, especially males, have to fight over territory their whole life. So a lot of older mountain lions, P22 age, they would have looked like a tomcat, right?
Grizzled.
Off their airs, grizzled. No, P22 is such a Hollywood cat. He looked like he always had a facial or looked very well groomed. Yeah, nobody to fight.
Well, yeah, because didn't he had gotten into something, wasn't it? Like they thought maybe he ate something with rodenticide when he got that sort of mangy rash, or I mean, that was the worst he ever looked. And it was like one trip to the dermatologist and he was fine.
He was fine, yeah,
good.
exactly.
Good.
But yeah, he is a lot like Brad Pitt. I mean, Brad Pitt has aged phenomenally well. I mean, come on. Once upon a time in Hollywood, I just remember being in the audience for that premiere, and I don't care, male, female, you gasp when his shirt came off, right? And people have the same reaction to P22. He was such a beloved figure, but had just remained handsome and chill. P22 is a very chill mountain lion. Not every mountain lion would have perhaps been okay in that close proximity to humans. Not every mountain lion would have made that journey. He was a pretty remarkable cat. I actually compared him a lot to the Big Lebowski too, in that he was just kind of this chill,
The dude.
Yeah, the dude, chill LA figure. People would, he'd walk by people's windows at night. He'd be like, "Hey," and they'd be like, "Hey," and then he'd walk on his way. So
No, I hear you. I definitely feel like I mean, even I live very close to where this new cougar was spotted, and I always kind of keep my eyes peeled. Like I just can't stop looking, and I run at the base of that mountain, and I'm always hoping, but I feel like too smart to be seen, too I don't know, stealthy.
He definitely made, I mean, early on, I mean, here we are, we don't know how long he's been there, but there's so many cameras, it couldn't have been too long. But
yeah,
Lad, who the person who first spotted him, great guy. He a friend connected us, and so it was a day before your friend reached out. But he actually got a video. He lives in near there too, and saw this cat who is unnamed at this point in a parking lot, and got a pretty good video. But this is what I love, and this is, I think, one of the reasons we want to do this cast, is to get people to just be in wonder of how effing cool wildlife are, and how it's just experiences like this. It's never zero risk, but it's almost zero risk with wildlife. You're safer with wildlife than with people. I mean, come on.
Bear versus man.
Yeah, exactly. I'll pet the bear. Oh my God. In fact, I did. I don't live with anybody, and but I have bears on my property, and they're great.
And you live with a bunch of wolves. Wolf adjacent. Your dogs are wolf life.
Yeah, they really can't be wolves. But yeah, I will say this: the bears never, made me eat chocolate, drink 2 bottles of wine, and watch Pride and Prejudice. I mean, a bear's never done that to me, so I'm always going to pick bear. But nonetheless, this guy was and your friend, like, it wasn't like, oh my God, we're scared. It was like, so cool, we saw our mountain lion. And that's one of the things I like to celebrate about LA and generally California, is we love living with wildlife. If P22 had showed up in any other state in a park that urban, he would have been shot or removed immediately. But here it's like, no, hey, stay, you're part of us, and I do love that. Call us crazy, but I think it's a wonderful way to be. They're wildlife.
I also think that LA, I mean, there are a lot of people that work in the film industry and you know, I mean, there's goodness knows, like you get that shot of P22, that's the money shot. That is your 15 minutes of fame. So, but also I just think
paparazzi. Yeah, he had paparazzi like Brad
he really
Pitt.
did.
People were literally like trying to get photos of him. Yep, you're right.
When I was on Citizen last night and there was a bear spotted in Chatsworth, like people were running around with cameras, and I was just like, it is interesting. It's also a little scary too because it also harkens, you know, back to just Yellowstone and the people that try to take selfies with the bison. It's like, okay. There's a point where it's like, don't be stupid, because then guess who suffers? It's not the humans unless they get gored. It's the animal that gets, you know. But yeah,
I worked in Yellowstone, as you know, for 4 years, and it was more interesting watching the people with wildlife. You'd be like, oh, that one's gonna get it. Yeah, people just stay. You know, they are wild animals. Taking a selfie with a bison is not a good idea. Just, you know, put that on your list of things not to do. But you know, yeah, I want people to love having experience with wildlife, but they are not pets. You know, my 6 dogs, you might be able to see one in the background here. You know, they are, I don't know how they descended from wolves. They would never make it. They sleep on the couch and, you know, like treats. But wolves are different, right? You would pet your dogs, but you wouldn't go up and, you know, give a treat to a wolf. So yeah, somebody
would,
and somebody probably has, but yeah, don't take selfies with bison, people, please. Just
no, bad way of doing things.
Bad way of doing it.
Yeah, asking for a real bad time. No, and I also think that, you know, Labyrinth growing up, back to the whole Gen X thing, you know, I'm 10 years behind you, but still, like, I'm on the tail end of the Gen X world, and Labyrinth was one of my favorite movies growing up, and it was such all these mystical, magical creatures, and I feel like my childhood was very much the mystical, magical creatures were the animals in my life, you know, and it still are. Like, that's why, you know, I think that if people are looking for magic in their life, just go for a hike, just get outside, just find, you know, I know some people don't like zoos because it depresses them because they don't want to see animals in captivity. That's another story for another day. Sometimes that's the only place they can be. But if you can find magic in that, I think that's going to brighten, you know, anybody's day. Anytime I spend time at a sanctuary, my spirits are lifted.
I'm with you. Same thing. You know, we're Gen X. I'm on the other end. But yeah, grew up with really magical tales like, you know, The Wind in the Willows and Frog and Told Her Friends. You know, it was those stories that that made me a wildlife advocate and scientist, not the science early on. And I think, again, that's kind of like the whole point of this podcast. Like, you know, it's the wonder and the fun and the awe and the cool stuff that really captures people's imagination. P22 is a good example. You know, we got $100 million wildlife crossing built because of his story, you know, now the science we needed. And again, I'm a scientist. I'm not knocking science, but science doesn't get conservation action. It tells you what to do, but you need to say, let's do it. And so I love that these animals that we come to love, and I think that does trace back to a lot of us from childhood, but then spur us to do something. And you know, that's what I love. And you're right. I want to, you know, you don't need a mountain lion in your yard to you know, experience the awe and wonder. You know, squirrels are pretty amazing. Almost everybody's got squirrels in their yards, or bats, or birds. And I think that's one of our first stories. We wanted to talk about. But before we get to, you know, because you can see birds anywhere. You could live in the most urban area on a top floor of an apartment balcony, and you'll still see birds. So birds is a great way to start connecting to that wonder and awe that you were talking about, Natalia. But I do want to start. I know we'll probably dedicate a big show to him, but all right, say his name wrong.
Flaco or Flaco. Yeah. But I think
I ordered the official in memory embroidery patch. I just saw that somebody is coming out with a book on Flaco. But to me, this showed how, like, this owl, he was like the P22 of New York City. He had everybody captivated. And I was following this story, weren't you?
Oh, absolutely. And just to give some backstory, this was an owl that it had escaped. This is an escaped owl. That
On
it
the
was-
land, it was like Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood, except with owls in New York City, not San Francisco.
I know it really is very Harry Potter if you think about it. And essentially, he escaped from the Central Park Zoo, and officials weren't sure if they were going to try to catch him and put him back into captivity, or just let him go. And they decided, you know what, executive decision, let's let him go. He's a Eurasian owl, the largest owl, I believe the largest owl, not maybe in the world, maybe in the world. Hold on, I have to double check, but there were some that were concerned. There were some that were concerned that he might outcompete the native species because he's not native to New York, but he thrived. I mean, can you imagine being in Central Park, all those rats, all that pizza, all those hot dogs, all those toddlers? I mean, there's so much to eat there, you know?
Yep. Yeah. So much to do, so much to see in New York City, and hey, if you're in New York City, you're a night owl, so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was.
yeah, he did good. He did, sadly, they think from a window strike, although there was some talk of rat poison I hadn't heard.
Oh.
And, I mean, I cried when I learned that he died. I mean, it was really hard, much like when P-22 passed. And, there was some were saying, see, he should have been in captivity, but I think, listen, he got to fly free for a year, and he was, I think what puzzled me over that, some people saying you should have, locked him back up, although they didn't have much luck catching him. He was pretty good.
I was going to say, good luck with that.
The native owls face, right? So he faced nothing different than what your native owls who live on the landscape face. So to me, as harsh as, his ending was, it was a good wake-up call to everybody that this is what the native owls face all the time: window strikes, rat poisons, urban living. So I still celebrate him. Yes, he got it. He got a year to sort of be an owl, which I thought was great, and to show the love. They had a memorial service for him. I mean, it was much like we did with P-22. It was something to watch. But the story that I brought to your attention for, I was like, we got to do this one out of the gate because although I consider myself a Californian now, I've been here since '91. I'm a Boston gal, and I grew up in north and south of Boston. My accent will probably come out once in a while. I moved out to California when I was 21, but my roots are still there. I can still pound Guinness with the best of them. Went to UMass Boston and Dorchester. I am a Boston gal. So when I saw the story pop up about peregrine falcons in Boston, I was like, we got to do this one. It's such a great story. So, okay, why don't you give the summary, Natalia?
Well, I mean, essentially, we were just talking about rodenticide and problems with insecticide, but DDT basically was doing massive damage to peregrine falcon populations because it was making their eggs super thin and unable to kind of sustain. And so there was a huge peregrine falcon die-off in the 60s and 70s. And when they outlawed it, we're slowly seeing peregrine falcon populations coming up again. Right. And so in Boston, now they have multiple peregrine falcons that they're kind of monitoring. They're making sure all of them are sort of banded so they can kind of keep an eye on them and knowing what's going on. They've got these chicks that, it's funny, I didn't know this. Peregrine falcons, no matter what egg you put in there, they'll take care of it. They don't care. They don't judge.
Great foster parents. They don't give a crap. They're like, oh, egg here, and I'll keep going, but I'll tell you a story about that in a minute.
Oh, I want to hear, because I'm just thinking like my head's spinning because I'm like, what can we give them? I want to like put an ostrich egg in there and just see what happens. Put a marine iguana egg in there. You know what I mean?
God,
like,
hilarious.
what is happening? But yeah, anyways, and there were certain facts about peregrine falcons I did not know. Like, for instance, their eyesight is 8 times better than humans, so they can spot prey from up to 2 miles away. So they're great in urban environments. Because there's tons of little creepy crawlies all around, and that's why we were kind of touching on that. Raptors are so important and helpful in a urban ecology. You want to make sure that ecosystem is sort of free from these rodents that can spread disease in a pretty rough way. And also they're the fastest animal out there, 242 miles per hour they can fly.
It's insane. Now some will claim that they're not that they're cheating.
Okay.
That's a free fall. It's actually Mexican free-tailed bat is who some advocate for naming the fastest mammal because that is actual flight,
just
not
flight. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, still, if you can go 242 miles an hour in a free fall, I'm going to give you an award. That is a Top Gun, that's a Top Gun.
I think we're splitting hairs there.
It's insane. I mean, these falcons are off the charts. Like, again, coolest animal. And can I just say, for the Boston folks listening, I think it is so wicked pissa that there are peregrine falcons in Boston. There were none when I was there growing up, so that they've come back. And you are seeing this. I visited some peregrine falcon population in the San Jose City Hall, which is about, I think it's 18 floors. And literally, I was in the mayor's office, right, looking at a peregrine staring at me, and wow. They loved it. They, the peregrines are still raising young there. I think they've been there like 15 years, because it looks like a big cliff, right? And then they swoop down and they got pigeon prey, pigeons are actually really easy to catch. Yeah. But also, I live outside Yosemite National Park. I am in LA a lot, but home is outside Yosemite. And a very different environment than like a San Jose or a Boston. But Yosemite was instrumental to peregrines coming back. They had obviously it's a protected place. When they spotted the first nest after like DDT was banned, they went right into making sure that those nestlings survive. So they got volunteer rock climbers to go up, pull the eggs, and either incubate them or bring in either new eggs or hatchlings. And little known fact, I got to interview Yvonne Chenard for a book I have coming out, Yosemite Wildlife. He was one of the rock climbers who helped.
What?
Yes. And he said it was hilarious. He's like, we went up and got the eggs, and then we bring back these hatchlings. And he's like at first, he puts them and then they come down. He's like, these falcons are gonna be like, know that this is not their kids. He's like, this is a waste of time. And he said they had put the chicks in, they see the mother come back, she gives a little look, goes out, nails a swift right away, brings it back and feeds it. Peregrines are, humans need to look to them. They don't care what kids they're raising. So, so, and that's why these reintroduction efforts are so successful. They're not picky about their kids.
Oh, I love that. No, I mean, I think it's fantastic. That's why I wonder, what if, there was a different species in there? They'd just be like, that's fine. You just look weird. It's strange. I don't know. Oh man. Yeah. It made me.
Peregrines have to, their first step is a doozy. Okay. So if you're a peregrine falcon, you live up high, and when you fledge, you got one shot there. You either fly or plop, right? Because you're, 1,000, 2,000 on the peregrines on El Capitan, they could be 3,000 feet up.
God.
So although, I'm not sure an ostrich would be as successful.
No. Here's a chicken. I mean, I had pet chickens. They can fly, but not very far.
I mean, we should try it. The first chicken to fly off El Cap. That would be something.
Yeah. Those first steps, I never really thought about that, because I know that they start flying around like 10 weeks, right? I think
so. Yeah.
But,
one shot. I know. Imagine you're like 2 years old and your parents,
come on,
knock you off the roof to see,
just punch you. I just see a falcon just like going, come on, and just, see how that goes. I mean, I don't know. There's no safety net down below.
No,
that's rough.
Gotta make it work. But I'll tell you, they are peregrine falcons. If you can catch one, and listen, if you do live in a city, odds are you have them. I mean, the Bay Area has them. Like I said, San Jose, Boston. I know other cities have them too. So go on your local birding site and see, because I will tell you, they are awe-inspiring to watch. They mate in the air. They actually will lock their talons and twirl when they're mating.
That's hot. I'm into it.
They hit like a swift or a pigeon. They're knocking that thing out of the sky at 100 miles an hour. Like you said, they are so precise. It is, in fact, the Air Force and they've studied how peregrine fly to look at making airplanes more aerodynamic. So it is something to see. So check out your local peregrine population, and a lot of them have webcams, like Berkeley, there's some in Berkeley, California. There's webcams on them. In fact, people follow those like soap operas, like who's made who and who, so yeah, you might even have a cool webcam you can check out in your city.
So when I was doing my GIS lab work, when I did my honors, or no, this was actually my thesis, I had to make maps. And so I spent hours and hours into the late of night making maps in this lab. And it was actually a bald eagle, cam that we just watched.
Oh, I
It
love
was like, that was our thing. That was like our weird, sort of de-stressing sort of, instead of playing with a stress ball, we would just watch these eagles in a nest sort of just play with each other and feed each other. And, we'd see them like bringing back severed heads, and we're like, oh, that's so sweet. It's so cute. Yeah.
It's so
Living in
cute.
New York
Romance,
City.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
No.
men,
And
don't bring a severed head to a date, but for
yeah.
eagles, it works,
Yep.
right? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't, please don't.
Yeah, just tip from us women. Don't, yeah, not
Leave the severed heads, like at
leave
least
the
date
severed head.
3. Date 3,
Yeah.
you can bring a severed head. And I mean, and species specific,
Yes,
find out.
exactly. Species.
Yeah.
specific.
It's like, don't buy a pet for a loved one. Also, don't give them a severed head. These are just rules to live by.
Nothing, us two cougars are happy to give dating advice, right? Because again,
Yes.
we study biology, so we know what works in the animal world, and we can give you lots of tips. There's other species things that might work, like, I don't know. We'll have to come up with some, but
I want to bring back, Beth, I want to bring back sexual cannibalism. I think that if there was, I think that's a missed opportunity. I think Black widows have, the right idea. Praying mantises. I think when men don't know if they're going to die by the end of the night, it gives them the opportunity to behave like asshats. So,
you're
I think bringing that back.
Pressure, like it's gonna. Then you really like the first date has to be a good one, or you're gonna get your head eaten off.
Yeah. No, you got to come with the goods, and if you don't,
I think that would help.
I'm eating you.
It would help because oh my god, the first dates would go so well.
Yeah, you would eat real well. I mean, depending on how big they are, right? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's sexual cannibalism, just something to think about. Yeah, and I do like the fact that they have the sex. I mean, that's like the original sex swing right there. I mean, that's incredibly impressive. And I didn't know this. They also are thought to migrate 15,000 miles a year. So they're very, very resilient birds, and they've been used by humans for, they think for, thousands of years. There's, I think, art that's 3,500 years old from Mesopotamia and Mongolia of people using falcons for hunting, because of their speed and their ability to hunt. So and there's falconry. I think there's the Falconry Association's got like 60,000 members now. So you can actually go and do, be a falconry person for a day. I don't even know. Is there a word for falconist? I'm a falcon.
I like falcon.
A falconista. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. You're a falconista.
A falcon. I think it's a falconer. I think that's the right word. But right now,
better falconista.
Yeah, I'm a falconista. This is my falcon. Her name's Stephanie. She's fantastic, and she'll bring you a severed head any day of the week.
Any day, yeah.
That's what I love that. No, so this brings me hope.
That's a tip today, and you could do it on a date. Like,
Yeah.
I actually think I'd be wowed by a guy who said, "Let's watch a falcon webcam." Right? Wouldn't you? See,
Oh God! I just
Little
dropped an
pieces of
egg.
sexual cannibalism. Check out a local falcon webcam with your date, and I bet it'll.
Yeah, or just take the girl falcon. I actually, my friend.
Falconing. Yeah.
Yes. My friend Samantha Hale, shout out to her. She's a hilarious comedian. Her and her boyfriend and her went, I don't know if it was for his birthday or her birthday. It doesn't matter. Everybody won because they went and did falconry work. It was awesome, So they got to meet owls and even in my neighborhood, if you guys if anyone's watching, if followed me for a while, there was twice in a 24-hour time period, I got dive bombed by owls. Almost at the exact same spot. I was jogging, and like within 24, like one night it happened, and I was like, what the fuck? And it was a great horned owl, and I watched it just sit on a light post for a while. And then the next day I remember thinking, gosh, my grandma's favorite animal, as I was jogging, my grandma's favorite animal was an owl. And it was around the same time that she had died the year before. And then another owl like swooped me. And I live right at the base of Universal Studios. So I joke that they were Hogwarts owls that were just, because they have their own Hogwarts there. But I mean, honestly, to me, that is the magic in my life, is just seeing raptors in the city. And in New York, I would walk in Washington Square Park, and I can't even tell you how many times I'd watch a hawk. I'd see a rat running across the sidewalk. I'm like, you are playing with fire, sir. And then a hawk would just just grab it all quick and willy-nilly. And it's like, that's why we need you. We need you here.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm with you. I love, as someone who's worked in Yosemite for 10 years and Yellowstone, and most of my career was spent doing wildlife and environmental stuff in remote places. But I will tell you, this urban wildlife work I've been doing now for 13 years, especially in LA, but other places, it's just something about it. There's something about that these animals are trying, they're hanging on. And then the way people connect to them, again, like a P22 or Flacco, whatever, that there is something about wildlife in a city that we need for wildlife to have a future biologically, right? I mean, the number one threat to habitat worldwide is a loss of habitat. So people, let that owl move in, let that raptor move in, let that mountain lion, not move into your backyard, but at least be able to walk through it. We need to do this, but we also, there's something else. It's not just an ecological thing. I think socially we've lost that connection to wildlife, and we were told for so long, well, you can only really, the only valued wildlife experience is going to a Yosemite or a Yellowstone. Bullshit. But even though I worked in those places, and yes, I saw grizzly bears and bison, and in my backyard here I have mountain lions and bear. But I'll tell you, one of my favorite wildlife watching experiences was on the 5th floor of a parking garage in LA with a group of second graders watching swifts fly into a chimney. There's wildlife everywhere. And I think that's one of the points we want to tell people. Like, you just don't need those like Hallmark or Thomas Kincaid. I don't know, what's the painter that does all
my God, the painter of light.
Yeah, like, you just don't need those pristine nature moments. Like what another favorite, Pizza Rat in New York. I thought that was
Pizza Rat
life experiences ever. Pizza Rat.
So good. So
all hail to Pizza Rat.
And I think, when I lived in New York, I moved 12 times in 5 years. In the last year and a half there, I was in a place called Red Hook, Brooklyn, which is on the edge of the earth. It is in the middle of nowhere. It's a 23-minute walk to the nearest subway. Unbeknownst to me, when I moved into this place, there was a giant resplendent cock, a rooster named Audrey, and 2 hens, and a metric shit ton of raccoons. So many raccoons in this neighborhood. So many. In fact, Audrey died very quickly, and then I ended up becoming friends with Carol and Jeanette. I named them Carol and Jeanette because why not? And they became my quarantine. But during this time, I remember hearing in the middle of the night, I'd wake up and I would hear these like kind of screams and like giggle, like little weird sounds. And I thought maybe, because I heard that Red Hook used to have packs of wild dogs. And I was like, oh, maybe that's what it is. And one night I came home and, it's 5 a.m. and, again, this is still New York City. And I go and I look out my back door, which had a glass door, and there were 3 fat raccoons playing in this little backyard area. And then 2 proceeded to try to copulate in what I then called the fuck bucket, which was a giant Home Depot bucket. And they tried to make sweet love in it. And then cut to, no crap, 2 months later, I'm in my house and I kept hearing the raccoon screams and giggles and things like that. And I'm like, I went outside, nothing was there. I went out front, nothing was there. I went to my closet. I put my ear up to the brick wall and I realized the call was coming from inside the building, and they lived in my walls. A mama had gone into the chimney through the flue and had her babies. And so for about a month and a half, 2 months, I would just hear the screams of raccoons throughout the night. And it was the babies screaming for mom who had went to go get food. And I'd have to fight off the raccoons away from the chickens. I mean, it was like the Wild West during 2020. In Brooklyn, New York, So, but it was magical. It was one of the happiest times of my life, other than field work when I was, studying monkeys in Panama. It was I would wake up in the morning, I'd throw open the door and I would just say, chickens, and they would come running in the house, I mean, there's something magical. And of course the raccoons, which were wild. And and then I had a giant possum that would get into the fights with raccoons and the chickens. I mean, it was, and I have video of all of this, but point being, I think urban wildlife is the anecdote we need to, I think, a lot of the malaise and depression we have right now. I mean,
you want to know that even in a place like New York City or LA, that we've done our best to banish, anything wild, that it's still there. And, I mean,
against all odds.
I remember like during the pandemic, because a lot of people were home, they didn't have a lot to do, like people building picnic tables for their squirrels or obstacle courses and connecting to wildlife that had always been there, but they just hadn't noticed before. And I'm with you. Wildlife for me, although as somebody who always wanted to study and protect it, there's that portion, but it has always been something that's given me joy, that's helped me when I'm feeling badly. I used to go look at my local, turtles or frogs in the woods when I was a little girl and got a bad grade, right? Anyway, and I still do that. I look at my turtle or my dogs or my
Your newts.
My newts, my backyard.
You've got so many newts. Yeah.
Newts everywhere. Just newts. Yep. Newts
Sending
everywhere.
newts all the time. Just Beth is always
Something
sending newts.
about it. I can have the worst day imaginable, yet if I see a red-tailed hawk or a frog on my window, it helps. It really helps. And I think that's, to me, especially urban wildlife. Like, again, I live in the middle of nowhere. I live outside Yosemite National Park. I'm on 6 acres. I have every species of wildlife you can imagine in my yard: mountain lions, coyotes, bobcats, and so you expect to see it here. But when you're in LA and you see a coyote or a bobcat or frogs, it's just something special. And I think that's why P22 became, so famous, because it was magical. I mean, that's the bottom line. It was magical that he was there. Yeah.
No, and I agree. And I want to, our last story, which
shifting to something even more appropriate for a Two Cougars show: beavers.
Beavers.
Okay, just to be clear, you saw the title of the show, Two Cougars. You might have made some assumptions, but we're talking about the real beaver, the animal. Okay, so
the large North American rodent.
Yes.
Yeah, this is not, they're not maybe as resplendent as a mountain lion or a falcon or as majestic, but they are just damn adorable. And so essentially they were overhunted here in California, for their fur for years. And so, but they've been depicted in pictographs in native tribes here in California for, I think, up to 1,500 years ago. There were pictographs from the Tule River tribe. And so there have been efforts to reintroduce beavers, because not only are they something that should be here because they are from here, but they also provide a lot of ecosystem services. They actually do help the ecosystem quite a bit. And so they've reintroduced multiple animals. Let me double check. I think it was
it's been
adults, 3 kits. Yeah.
Shout out to Secretary of Natural Resources Wade Crowfoot, who I have the honor to be a friend and know, and he's been a champion, as well as all these environmental groups been working this for a long time. My friend Jennifer Fearing, obviously the indigenous folks who allowed this on several different places, but for me, this is a success story, and we don't get a lot of these in conservation. They're back, and we need beavers. Beavers are, again, so friggin' metal. Isn't that what the young people say when it's cool? They regulate waterways. They are essential. If you want to talk science, they're essential to the ecological health. But they are astounding animals. Their dams are engineering marvels. You try to build, we all tried to build dams as kids. Remember, and we sucked at it.
Oh, terrible.
On the task. You're going to have the largest dam ever recorded, I think, was like 3,000 feet in Canada. That's
what?
Huge. Yes.
I didn't know that, Beth. 3,000 feet?
Yes.
It's a shit ton of beavers. It's a lot of beavers.
Shit ton of beavers. And I guess for me growing up, like back to those whimsical tales we would read, like Chronicles of Narnia, with the beaver sipping tea in there. I actually can almost picture that after a hard day. They're, where they live are pretty amazing things. Now, where I live in Yosemite, we have beavers in the Merced River. Now, they don't actually build dams. Interestingly, these guys are bank dwellers, right? So they sort of make homes under there, but they're still effing cool. But yeah, and that we're bringing them back is good. We have effed up as humans a lot of stuff, especially water and how water flows through ecosystems. We make our own dams, which are horrible. And, beavers help with restoration efforts. We need them on the landscape. Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of, I mean, when we talked about Yellowstone and the reintroducing of the wolves and how, they change the flow of rivers, but they also help bring back so many different species and also culled other species that were getting out of hand, whether it was, the deer population, which, affected the vegetation, which affected the animals that eat the vegetation. So I feel like this can have a great positive snowball effect. And just some fun facts about beavers, because I do love a good rodent. Good
I love a
facts.
good beaver fact.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you all about my beaver. They've got web. I mean, these are things that Beth. Yeah, let's talk about the web toes. They got web toes. They've got a big old flat tail with kind of scales on it, and their teeth. If those got those very large central incisors, they don't like rabbits, which are not rodents. They're lagomorphs. Beth, definitely, we know that.
Yeah, never call them a rodent.
No. I had a pet rabbit for 10 years. And yeah, their teeth just keep on growing, and beavers do the same. So they have to keep chewing, or else they're just going to keep having these gnarled teeth. So, I mean, it's kind of amazing that, their teeth are such a tool in building their home. Imagine if we used our teeth to just survive, I mean, we do technically to eat, but I mean, to actually build a home, like they are their tools. That is their toolkit. So, yeah.
And I think beavers are a good entryway into the rodent world, like the gateway animal.
The gateway.
Listen, you and I, we're going to have to do one of our upcoming shows has to be on rats, because so many people are scared of mice and rats. I love rats. I mean, they are, again, these are animals of great intelligence. We need them. You didn't have mice and rats here on the landscape. I always tell people, you don't like an animal. Okay, fair enough. But you wouldn't want a world without mice and rats, or rattlesnakes, or black widows, or mountain lions. Yeah. Any number of things that we fear, actually, we should be thankful for, because it would be and mice and rats are the same. Now, there's no doubt there's areas where they are naturally, their populations are out of control because of things we've done, not anything they've done. But mice and rats, or rodents, of which beaver, as you said, they are astounding animals that have their place, like they are a neighbor that we want. So I'm really I'm proud to live in California. We do, in a lot of things, lead the way. And I'd say that wildlife is one of those. So to bring those beavers back is really kudos. And if you're interested in this topic, I can think of no better book. It got me interested in beavers years ago when it came out, is Ben Goldfarb's book, Eager. Oh my God. It's an amazing book. It's an amazing book.
I have to read that. I have his crossing book, but okay.
It's really good. He even says, got a problem you need to solve? Beavers will do it. I mean, it's true. They just.
But wait, there's more.
Well, there's more. And wait, there's more.
Beavers will build your deck.
Yeah, beavers.
Fix your plumbing.
Fix your plumbing. Call them
Find you love.
1-800-BEAVER,
I would call in a heartbeat,
I
would.
Yeah, just to see what it is. So, but anyway, yeah, that to me is such a great success story. So I'm glad we kind of ended with that one. And as we do more podcasts, that's what we're going to focus on is how these, I think people are connecting to wildlife more and wanting to kind of right the wrongs of the past. And I think the beaver is a really good example that they were hunted for their pelts almost to extinction. And a lot of people thought of them as pests because they would build dams. So if you're somebody trying to irrigate, but now we know. That's what I love about science, right? We can have fun with science, which is what we're doing, but we now know how ecologically significant beavers were on the landscape. So there we go. And I will say the last thing, you talked about their tail. Boy, if you've heard a beaver, that their tail is actually a defense mechanism, and they slap that in the water. That is it sounds like a gunshot. So it's a great, I wish I had a tail that just boom,
Seriously. I feel like that. Yes. I think that would be maybe the next evolutionary trait that we could get, is just bring back the tail.
Bring back the tail. I love
bring back the tail. Bring back. That's, I actually did a podcast years ago. I almost forgot until I guess it was yesterday that I was like, oh, wait a minute. It was about in Idaho, they airdropped beavers. It wasn't always the happiest ending, actually. But if you do look up Curiosity Daily and airdrop beavers, you can hear me waxing poetic about an attempt to reintroduce beavers to a particular area.
And they airdropped them? Is that like the WKRP in Cincinnati turkey drop? Did they
right, basically. I was like, oh, this is not ideal. I'm glad that this time around they just gently release them into the water, which I think is the way to go. Quite honestly, I think that's
they just and then bam, they're
Just go.
happy
Just
for swimming.
be free. Go, my little beeve. And speaking of rodents, our
Yeah, speaking
pop
of rodents,
cultures. Yeah.
yes, this is, and listen, you, Natalia, you are the creative one. I love that you have come up with this as our sort of Gen X moment, how we end the show. So go ahead. I love this one.
So this is our Gen X doesn't give an F about blank. And so this is Gen X doesn't give an F about hot rodent men. And this is where we'd have a cool music intro about hot rodent men. Is that Rat the band? Rat should play.
Yeah, oh, yeah, right. We should be playing Rat right now. Yeah,
Rat would be playing.
God, that's a song in the making. Yeah.
There we go. Who wants to come up with hot rodent men? Because but hot rodent men, because I was just kind of looking for fun stories, and this one just really sort of tickled my pickle. Essentially, men that kind of come off rodent-like, and it was based on the movie Challengers, which again, I think Beth and I, have you seen Challengers?
I haven't seen Challengers.
We're old. Yeah. We don't do things.
But I love. What's the actress Zendaya? I love her. You know, I am absolute heterosexual, not that, but she is my girl crush.
Who is?
Yeah. Isn't she the one in Challengers?
Zendaya? Yes. Oh yeah, she's stunning. She's absolutely gorgeous, and so she's in it. And oh god, I just blanked out on the man's name. Forgive me. But yes, they used 3 examples of. I think it was Josh O'Connor who is in Challengers, or is Mike Faced in it too? But yes, because there was a funny tweet where they showed 2 pictures of fictional rat or rodent characters and said these are the actors from Challengers. But I just wanted to talk to you about this idea of these hot rodent men. You got Jeremy Allen White from The Bear, who do you have any opinions of him? He's a younger guy. He's in his early 30s.
He's the only one I recognize. Again, I'm so Gen X, right? It's just sad how like, to me, Harrison Ford is still the matinee idol, and I actually, it's sad. I don't know a lot of young actors, so I looked up you. And first, I love that hot rodent men is a thing. And please, we are saying this as a compliment. We love rodents.
Yeah, I like rodents. I mean,
to animals as a compliment. But when I was growing up, I didn't have a hot rodent men pinup on my section on my wall. We didn't do this. So this is to me what's fun about the internet. So I looked at these guys. I did recognize, I have not seen The Bear, but Jeremy Allen White definitely. But then I was thinking, like, okay, what are actors I know that I would put here? And I think,
hot rodent category. Yeah.
I'll tell you one of my favorite, who I think looks like a really buff rodent, is Adam Driver.
Yes. Because he's got that. I love a good pragmatic nose.
I love you. And then the only other one I could think of that was of this age is Timothy.
Chalamet.
Yeah, he's got that kind of rodent.
He actually was one of the examples too of kind of. Actually, no. Hold on. The internet also provided more fun facts. One person said, this is from 2023, men are either eagle handsome, bear handsome, dog handsome, or reptilian handsome.
Reptilian.
And Timothy Chalamet was considered reptilian, which I think he falls more into rat personally.
I think he falls more into rat.
Yeah, more rodent.
I'm so, for our podcast, I'm so looking forward to the segment where we pick an animal every week, and is it hot?
Is it hot or not?
Summer. But I mean, to me, that was what was fun with Brad Pitt. He does look. I mean, in fact, LAist did this great. When I started using, he's the Brad Pitt of the Cougar world. Thank you, Brad, for not sending me a cease and desist order. I use that. I've used it for years. NBC, The Guardian picked it up, and so thanks for not suing me. But LAist did P-22 and Brad Pitt side by side. They picked a photo, and they do look alike. I mean, I'm like, oh my god, they really.
I mean, look, people look like their dogs. Why not a mountain lion and a heartthrob? I don't understand it. Like, why not? That's
so intelligent. So all these folks, Josh, Jeremy, Mike, Adam, Timothy, compliment. Rats are highly intelligent. They are very social. They love their families.
Resilient.
Resilient.
Huge testicles.
Yeah, huge testicles.
Huge testicles. Just ginormous DNA satchels dragging from below.
And again, Pizza Rat. Like, was there ever a better character than Pizza Rat? Like,
no. I mean, you got Ratatouille. You got Nicodemus, if you're a Secret of Nim kind of gal. Yeah, you've got some good. You've
Ooh,
got
my
Master
growing up
Splinter.
was Ben. Remember Ben, the horror movie? Or are you too young for that? Yeah.
Ben, I think, is a little bit before my time, but was that a rat?
He was a rat. Yeah.
Oh.
I actually love people get like some of the sign. Oh, I don't like movies that demonize animals. I think they're kind of fun. Like what was it? Cocaine Bear. I thought was great. But
Cocaine
Ben,
Bear.
Ben,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought it could use a rewrite, but that's just my writer brain. But it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was an hour and a half of this bear's on cocaine, but it was
I mean, I don't know. Again, man versus bear and bear on cocaine. I still would prefer the bear on cocaine.
I'll take bear on cocaine. Yeah.
At least he's a good time. At least he can party.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, he's got party favors. It's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if we missed any rat men, let us know. But
yeah.
I love the hot rodent men, and whoever came up with that, kudos, because
seriously.
That is we are animals. Why not?
No, we're absolutely, and I think that's something that's lost on us way too often. So, and I think, realizing, like, for instance, why Brad Pitt should not cease and desist, that is a huge compliment, that you look like that. P-22 looks like you. Like,
I'm hoping he took it that way, and obviously he must have, or else I'd be sued, right? For
that was a hot kitty. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would be so lucky, to be compared to,
I know. I'm trying to think what animal do you think people would compare you to?
That, I mean, would you say more looks or personality?
I think mostly these are based on looks, right? So who
I definitely, I don't know. What do you think? I'm trying to think.
I'd probably be a lion because of the mane, like my hair. I think a lion.
We do have, remember that picture we took, I think the last time, or I think it can't be the last time I saw you. It was the P-22 day last year, or when we did that hike, we took a photo of our hair just on top of each other.
Yeah.
Because we both had big manes that night. Yeah, definitely something cat. My eyes are almond shaped, so people say they're very cat-like. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've ever been. My best friend, who I think is watching, Ellen, if you're watching, they used to liken me to a meerkat, because I would always I was just like this, like, I was always a little, like, anxious and all over the place, and I used to always, go to, like, we'd be, we were weirdos in junior high and just walk around CVS being like, in the distance, you've got a meerkat, and that was me. But yeah, I actually did have I would love to know, audience members, folks at home, what animal would you say you look like? What do people say you look, which animal would you call yourself? There's a better way to phrase that, but you get the idea. And then also, I also wanted to ask people, what would you want to see reintroduced to your part of the world? Is there an animal that used to be in your part of the world that you're like, yeah, I really wish we had Komodo dragons here? That is not a good example, but you get the idea, Yeah. If there was an animal in your area that has sort of either gone the way of the dodo, or is just, you don't see it very often and you wish there were more, let us know.
We'll do some polls in our next podcast of animals.
Yeah.
It's not so much. I mean, there are lots of animals I want to have reintroduced that were here native in California, as it's someone who works on some of those efforts. But I would love an elephant. I know they don't belong here, but nice elephant walking around. What can go wrong, Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, yes and no. Only because they live in herds, so it would never just be one. It would be a giant herd. They are matriarchal. The ladies do run the show, so that is something that I think we need more of. I actually just did a History Channel show about elephants and their inability to forget and their ability to enact revenge, which I also think, hey, you know what? Maybe we should be putting these elephants to work for us, that we can team up together.
Exactly.
There we go.
Cool.
No, well, this has been so much fun.
Two Cougars.
Two Cougars.
Join us. We will be talking lots of wondrous tales of wildlife, and some Gen X fun. Talking about, I'm not sure what our next, it was hot rat men this week, but we'll see what the animal is next week. But hon, I'm so glad we decided to do this, and thanks everybody for tuning in. This is going to be so much fun. because we
Yeah.
are. We wear our badge, our cougar badge, proudly.
Oh yeah, with great yeah, respect and honor, and we plan on bringing a lot more stories. And if you have any Gen X stories that you would like us to cover, you can be from any generation, but you're just like, I want to hear what these two
Next
broads
time,
have to say.
I have an idea since I just watched Bratz, the Andrew McCarthy documentary, which
Yes.
was like a trip down memory lane for me. We need to somehow tie in Bratz to wildlife. We'll come up with a way.
Yes.
In,
well,
mm-hmm.
you know who I know, and I've met before and I love dearly. And I actually put him down as a potential Gen X rat man is Alan Ruck.
You're right. You know what? I have talked to Alan. Is great. He had a P-22 sighting. All right, we're going to get on that. I think we need to hear Alan's views on wildlife, and obviously he'll always be Cameron to me. I know for younger people he is Succession, but for me he's always
Connor for them, Cameron for us.
Yeah, but yes, he loves wildlife, and he has a great P-22 story. So we'll see if we can get him on to tell it. That'd be awesome.
That would be amazing. That would be absolutely phenomenal. Well, thank you for listening to Two Cougars. Please be sure to come back, listen, subscribe, like all the good things. And I'm Natalia Reagan.
Beth Pratt.
That's Beth Pratt. We're signing out. Two Cougars, one hell of a good time.